Good afternoon. I would like to kindly thank each one of you for joining us live from MAHSA University Sarjana Putra. I am Dr. Nur Azalina Suzianti Fesa from the Faculty of Health Sciences, MAHSA University, and I will be moderating today's session. So today's webinar is hosted by the Faculty of Health Sciences, MAHSA University. The title of today's webinar is Exposure to Particulate Matter 2.5 on lung function performance. So dear viewers, before we proceed further, I would like to inform that our Faculty of Health Sciences, MAHSA University, will be organizing an online conference this upcoming September 2021. MAHSA International Conference on Health Science and Technology MyChess 2021, organized by our Faculty of Health Sciences, will be held online from 17 September to 18 September 2021. The objective of the conference is moving health sciences forward during IR 4.0 is to bring academician, researcher, educationists and practitioners in physiotherapy, environmental health and safety, medical imaging and other related disciplines to share their latest research on the advancement and development in relevant field. So let's meet our speakers. For keynote speaker, we have Prof. Dr. Jamal Hisham Hashim. Prof. Jamal is a well-known public health scholar and internationally respected professor on environmental health, which has recently retired as a research fellow with United Nations University after 8 years of service. He also a director of Provenue Corporation Serdian Berhad. Although officially retired, he continued his service as a visiting professor of University Selangor Unisel Malaysia and Universitas Diponegoro Indonesia. Our second keynote speaker is Associate Prof. Dr. Muhammad Haizib Abdul Manaf. He is an associate professor in the Faculty of Health Sciences, University Technology Mara. He is also head of Physiotherapy Center in UiTM. He is also the president of Malaysian Physiotherapy Association. So next meet our third keynote speaker, Dr. Noor Azur Azmi Yahya. He is a lecturer of Diagnostic Imaging and Radiotherapy program from School of Diagnostic and Applied Health Sciences, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. So let's meet our plenary speaker. For environmental health session, we have Prof. Dr. Zaina Hashim and Prof. Dr. Juliana Jalaluddin. Both are professor from Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. For physiotherapy session, we have Mr. Muhammad Kasim, musculoskeletal and sport physiotherapist from Brunei, and Mr. Narendra Babu Alagiriswamy, a principal software engineering manager from Microsoft Company, United States. While for medical imaging session, we have two senior lecturers, Dr. Kamarul Amin Abdullah from University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Terengganu, and Dr. Muhammad Khalis bin Abdul Karim from Universiti Putra, Malaysia. So the important dates are, the abstract submission deadline is tomorrow, 31st August, but you still can register as a listener before 10 September 2021. For any further detail and update, please feel free to visit our MAHSA website and our faculty Facebook page to know more about this conference. Meanwhile, if you have any further inquiries, please contact us through email mychess@mahsa.edu.my, or you can simply leave a comment and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Okay, your question concerning this webinar session can be listed in the chat box for discussion during the Q&A session. So, dear viewers, an e-certificate will be provided during this webinar, and to be eligible for this certificate, please fill up the survey form. The link to this survey will be provided at the end of this seminar and can be found in the comment section. For today's webinar, we will know about PM2.5 or fine particulate matter 2.5 is a type of air pollutant that has been identified as a serious health risk to human health. The characteristic of this pollutant make it able to penetrate the first line of defense in the human respiratory system and cause lung tissue damage. So this damage eventually lead to impaired lung function performance. So it is therefore important to recognize this hazard and its origin so that we can take appropriate safeguard measure. So today this webinar will focus on what is PM2.5, sources of PM2.5 and the workplace and the impact of PM2.5 on the lung function performance. So now let me introduce you to our expert speaker for today, Mr. Amir Herbert Abdullah. Good afternoon, Mr. Amir Herbert.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Amir Herbert holds a Master in Occupational Safety and Health Management, Bachelor in Health Safety and Diploma in Public Health from Public Health Institute of Malaysia. He is currently a Senior Lecturer at UiTM Bertam, Penang. Mr. Amir also has previously served as Health Inspector in Majlis Daerah Selama and then as an Environmental Health Officer in Majlis Pembandaran Pulau Pinang. So, Mr. Amir, the webinar is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azhar. Okay, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to MAHSA University College for giving the opportunity for me to share a little bit of my knowledge and some research background that I've conducted in 2018. I've also presented this topic in the International Conference of Environment organized by USM back in 2018. Without any further delay, let me start my topic. So my topic is about exposure to PM2.5 on lung function performance. Okay, the study was actually carried out to determine the concentration of particulate matter 2.5 emitted from different construction activities and to evaluate the lung function performance. So this construction Okay, before I go further, this is actually the outline of my presentation today. I'll start talk a little bit on the introduction, then I will move to methodology, results and discussion, and finally conclusions and recommendations. Okay, this study is regarding the effect of particulate matter with the size of 2.5 microns on the performance of the lungs. So particulate matter actually consists of a complex heterogeneous mixture of particles that suspended in the air and also varying in size and chemical composition in space and time. Okay, particulate matter can remain suspended in the air due to their small size and also can travel long distance over a long period of time. Okay, so they can exist in the suspended in the air. Since they are floating in the air for a very long period of time, they can be carried away by the wind. Okay, so it does not stay in one place. It can be it is transferable to another place. There is a daily generation of particulate matter from various phases that contribute to air pollution, okay, including land cleaning, earth moving, work.
Jame, sorry to interrupt. We can't see your slide.
Oh, 1 minute. I forgot to share actually.
No problem.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, I can see your slide.
Okay. So the sources of particulate matter which contributes to the air pollution comes from land clearing, earth moving work, operation of diesel engines, demolition, burning, and working with toxic materials, etc. As we can see that in the place of my research, my study site, it is very common to have land clearing, earth moving work, and operation of diesel engines. According to Staffogia et al., short-term exposure to particulate matter for hours or days can lead to lung disease, acute bronchitis, causing asthma, may also increase susceptibility to respiratory infections. Yeah? Mostly this particulate matter is related to cardiopulmonary disease. Okay, so it can affect your lungs and it also can affect your heart. We had two objectives to achieve after conducting when conducting this study. The first one is to determine the concentration of particulate matter PM2.5 emitted by masonry, plastering, and mixing at construction site. Okay, in the construction site, there are so many work activities being carried out. But in our study, we focused on masonry, plastering, and mixing of cement. The second is to evaluate the lung function performance, which is the peak expiratory flow rate, or in short, PEFR, of the exposed construction workers. Let's see how the research was carried out. Okay, the study site was situated in Bukit Raja, Klang, and it is actually a housing development project. Okay, so the total area of the construction site is about 19 acres. So when we moved in for our research, it was the project was in phase 2. Okay, so normally in phase 2 includes the working activities such as drilling, piling, masonry, mixing of concrete activities, and plastering. Right. For the particulate matter, which is involves environmental sampling, the concentration of PM2.5 was measured by using the equipment Dust Track 2 Aerosol Monitor Model 8530. So it was attached approximately 1.5 meters height above the ground level at all the monitoring stations. Okay, as you can see from the picture, the instrument Dust Track 2 Aerosol Monitor is placed on a drum. Okay, so we have to elevate the position of the dust track to aerosol monitor, because the nature of PM2.5 to be suspended in the air. Okay, it is not heavy enough to settle down. So if you want to capture PM2.5 in the environment, you have to place your instrument at least 1.5 meters above the ground. Okay. Monitoring stations were set up at construction site for each activities. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we were monitoring 3 activities, right? Which is the masonry, plastering, and mixing of concrete. So at these 3 stations, we set up our instrument, which was recording measurements 9 hours daily for 6 days. Okay, so we continued our recording of measurements for a period of 3 weeks or 18 days. Okay, in this picture, we are looking at how we collected the measurement for peak expiratory flow test, right? In this study, only workers that involved with masonry, plastering, and mixing of concrete were selected. Okay. So our focus of the study was on these 3 activities only. Peak flow meters is used to evaluate the lung function performance of the selected exposed construction workers. Okay, the test was carried out by using peak flow meter, and the acceptable criteria of satisfactory and repeatability exhalation were based on American Thoracic Society and European Respiratory Society recommendations. Okay, so we had a guideline on how to carry out the peak flow test. So during the peak flow test, the subject must have correct posture. Okay, so he cannot be hunching his back. The body must be straight, and when he exhales, okay, he must be using all his force to exhale all the air out of his lungs. Okay, that is when you get a proper and optimum result from the exhalation. Okay, so if the first exhalation is not right, he is allowed to repeat the procedure. All the PEFR tests were carried out at a fixed time of day, which is 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in order to minimize any diurnal variations. Okay, we wanted to what do you call prevent like the temperature of the day, the BP, the body temperature, the humidity, all these to affect our reading. So we wanted to prevent all these factors from affecting our results. So we did it in a time which is 9:30 to 11:30. If not, the outside factors like humidity, the ambient temperature, all these will affect the respiratory system of a person. Okay, let's look now at the sample size calculation and data analysis. Okay, so there is a formula that we use to get the sample size. But when we use this formula, the sample size that we got was 117 workers. Okay, but looking at the background of this uh, our respondents, okay, that took part in this research, we found that some are already have the symptoms of asthmatic, and they are also, some are smokers. Okay, so we have to exclude them from this research, okay, because of their health condition. So in the end, we came down to 80 workers. So our sample comprised of 80 people. Okay. All the data and results that we obtained, we analyzed using SPSS version 22. Okay, these are the results. Looking at the social demographic data, which is the age, height, weight, and BMI, okay, of the 80 people that took part in this research. Referring to the above, it's shown that the highest mean age of participants was found to be from the masonry activity, which is 40.20, followed by plastering and mixing of concrete. The average age of participants in this range from 30 to 40 years old. Okay, so in these three activities, the age of the respondents ranged from 30 to 40 years old. Looking at the average height and weight of participants in the range of 162 to 165 cm. Okay, and their weight is from 56 to 59 kilogram respectively. Okay, as we look into the BMI of the participants, okay, they are considered in the healthy range, between 18 to 22. Okay, so if you compare the BMI of these respondents, they are considered as healthy. Yeah. Okay, now look at the concentration of particulate matter 2.5, which we took the measurement in three different activities. The first one figure shows the graph of the concentration of PM2.5 in the masonry activities. Okay, so the different colors denote the different day. Okay, the 6 days that we took the analysis. In figure 2 is the graph for plastering activities, and figure 3 is for mixing of concrete activities. Okay, the concentration of PM2.5 were measured starting from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Okay, so it was about 9 hours. Okay, 9 hours. The reading was taken for 9 hours. The reading of PM2.5 concentration were taken every 1 hour. Okay, as you can see, our the x-axis of the graph, okay, it shows the interval of 1 hour. Okay, we took the readings from 8 a.m. to evening 17 p.m., which is 5 p.m., with the interval of every 1 hour we took the measurement. So as you can see that each activities, as we compare the masonry activities, plastering activities, and concrete activities, all have a different variety or different pattern. They portrayed a different pattern. Among the three activities, we noted that the highest concentration was detected in the masonry activity. The highest, which is about 79.98, was detected in masonry activities. Okay. So you can see the concentration. Masonry 79.98. Second is mixing of concrete 78.42. And the last one, the lowest is 72.57 microgram per cubic meter, which is in plastering. We used the comparison for the research. In this particular research, we made our reference to the Malaysian Ambient Air Quality Standard, which sets 75 microgram per cubic meter as the cut-off limit. Okay, whichever is more than 75 microgram per cubic meter is considered as a violation. Okay, this is based on Malaysian Ambient Air Quality Standard. Okay, this is just a guideline. Okay, this is just a guideline. So based on this guideline, we found that the masonry activity did not comply. Mixing of concrete also did not comply, but plastering activity was considered in the borderline. Okay, although it complied, but it can be considered as borderline. So overall, masonry had the highest mean concentration of PM2.5, okay, followed by mixing of concrete, and the least is from the plastering. Okay, masonry and mixing of concrete just slightly different, and both activities exceed the standard limit of Malaysian Ambient Air Quality Standard. This finding that we got from this research had some similarities with the research studied by Jane et al. Okay, they conducted a study to determine the concentration of particulate matter generated from construction site, focusing on concrete and masonry work. Okay, in our research, we extended the activities to cover the plastering activities. Okay, looking at this now is the peak expiratory flow rate, PEFR, of exposed construction workers. Okay, the normal range for peak expiratory flow rate is about 400 to 600 liters per minute. Okay, so the measurement that when you exhale, okay, during this experiment, when you exhale the air, the measurement should fall 400 to 600 liters per minute. Okay, that is considered as normal. Okay, if any of your reading is below 400 to 600 liters per minute, that means you have an impaired lungs. Okay, there is some kind of physiological damage to your lungs has been done, or you are suffering from lung impairment. Okay, table above shows the PEFR of participants from each construction activities, referring to table 4.4 participants from plastering activity has the highest mean of PEFR, which is 343. Okay, among the three working activities, plastering had the highest PEFR. Okay, although it is highest, it is still lower than the standard or the guideline for a healthy lungs, which is 400 to 600. Okay, so among the three considered, those who are working in the mixing of concrete, they had 298, which is very, very low. Okay, compared to the standard here, which is 400 to 600. Okay, so it could be the impairment of the lungs or the failure of the lungs to perform the normal functions. It could be due to the PM2.5 factors, or it also could be reflected by age. If your age, as you grow older, your PEFR tends to deteriorate. Okay, it will come down because this is the natural process of aging. As you age, your PEFR will definitely come down. Okay, but not to a very rapid decrease. Okay. Participants from mixing of concrete activity has the least mean of PEFR, which is less than 300. Okay, and thus assumed to have the worst lung function performance among other construction activities. Okay, so among the three, mixing of concrete ini is the workers in this activity can be assumed to have the worst lung function performance. Okay, let's look at the association between the PEFR, the BMI, the age, and the concentration of PM2.5. The table above shows there was no correlation between PEFR and BMI. Okay, it shows that BMI does not affect the peak expiratory flow rate. However, these findings contradicts with the study conducted by Price et al. Okay, they found that there is a positive correlation between PEFR and BMI. Okay, so in our studies we couldn't prove this. But earlier studies were able to show that there is a correlation between PEFR and BMI. Okay. What we found from our research or from our study was there was a significant negative correlation between PEFR and the age of the participant. Okay, which meaning to say that the present study shows a decline in the PEFR compared to the increase in age. Okay, so as your age increases, your PEFR will come down. It shows that older participants had lower PEFR than the younger participants. Okay, a similar finding. Research which was done by Price et al. Also agreed with this. Right. Then also we found that there is a significant negative correlation between the mean concentration of PM2.5 and the PEFR. So, which is to say that when the concentration of PM2.5 increases, so your performance, your peak expiratory flow rate will drop, will drop. Okay, and this finding is also the same finding with the research done by UL et al. In 2016. Okay, they found that the PEFR was reduced in all participants with the lowest for mason and carpentry activities. Okay, so in our results, the second and the third result is considered which has similarity with other people who carried out the research. They are also getting the same results. Okay, this is my conclusions and recommendations. Each construction activity demonstrated a different pattern and level of PM2.5, as we noticed in the three graphs that I showed to you all before. Exposure to high concentration of PM2.5 had caused impairment of lung function performance, thus lead to respiratory health problems. Okay. This study contributes to a better understanding of the behavior and composition of PM at construction sites in that particular phase of construction activity. Okay, so roughly we are able to get a picture in a construction site, in a phase 2 construction site, which are the activities that will pose more harm to the workers than the others. Okay. There are so many ways for us to implement control measures to prevent harmful effect to the workers. Okay, we can use engineering control. The approach of engineering control, which is the most used alternative, is dewatering work sites, like spraying water. Water should be applied at least 3 times a day or more, depending on the weather condition. Okay, it can settle down the PM faster and reduce the concentration of PM. Since PM2.5 is found to be suspended in the air, so by sprinkling or spraying water, they clump together and they become heavy and they drop to the surface of the earth. Okay. Administrative control also we can employ, which is the workers must be subjected to spirometry tests from time to time to detect any lung function disorders. Okay, so the management or the contractors or the supervisors must work this thing out. Okay. Training and induction also must be conducted. Okay, where in this program it consists of requirement information that workers must know, such as regulation, effects, purpose, advantage and disadvantage, instructions, procedure of work, selection, and the use of personal protective device. Based on observation that have been made during the sampling, most of the workers were not wearing any respiratory protection devices. Okay, so employer must provide the related PPE such as face mask or N95. Also, employer must ensure the workers wearing the PPE that had been given. Okay, so the management, when they provide the PPE, they cannot say that their responsibility is over. Okay, you have in the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, it is clearly stated. Okay, the PPE, to provide the PPE is the responsibility of the management, and to make sure that the worker uses or wears the PPE is also the responsibility of the management. Okay. A little bit on the future study, which we are still considered. We couldn't proceed with the future study because of the COVID pandemic. Yeah? New study should be considered a larger number of samples and must must be from various sites of construction. Okay, so far we have only covered 3 sites of construction. Okay, which is the mixing of concrete, plastering, and masonry. Okay, so there are many other sectors within the construction site that we can explore further. This might give a more detailed picture of the lung function parameters among the construction workers. It is also important to identify other external factors that contributes in the lung function parameters. Okay, these are my references. And with that, I end my presentation and open the floor for any questions from the audience.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Amir, for an insightful presentation. So we have a question from Rahayu Mokhtar. Due to our current situation, is there a link between poor air quality and worse health outcome from COVID-19 at the construction site?
Okay, the question was from who? Dr. Azhar?
From Rahayu Mokhtar.
Rahayu, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good question, Rahayu. So, as we know that since the pandemic has started from the year 2020, in fact, end of 2019, it was already in Malaysia, and it was beginning to escalate in 2020 and has continued until present. And we see that a lot of SOPs have been introduced since 2020, and we can see that the construction activities is one of the major sectors that has been affected by the pandemic of COVID pandemic. And the construction service sector is at the moment currently is not actually allowed, because we see we realize that it is creating an environment which is very, very pleasing or encourages the impact of COVID-19. Okay, as we know the nature of coronavirus, the targeted organ is our respiratory system and our lungs actually. Okay, so it can directly affect our breathing. It can damage our lungs. It can what you call make our lungs collapse. Okay, so together with if we have the PM2.5, I would say that it is synergistic. It is synergistic. That means the damage to our lungs will be more rampant and more rapid. That means PM2.5, the existence of PM2.5 together with COVID-19, then it will going to cause serious damage to our lungs. So definitely there is a link, or there is a relationship, and it is going to be a negative outcome. Negative outcome if we are exposed to PM2.5 as well as coronavirus at the same period of time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Amir. Second question is from Tengku Nilam. She asks about any relationship between BMI of the workers and exposure to PM2.5. Is there any association?
As far as our research that we conducted in Bukit Raja, we didn't find the relationship. But there are studies. There are studies that have been conducted by other researchers, not in our country, but in foreign countries, which they were able to prove there was a significant relationship between BMI and PM2.5. Okay, so BMI, I would personally see that BMI refers to uh, which we normally consider it as when we want to see whether a person is obese or not. So if a person is obese, normally naturally, when they are obese, there are a lot of fat tissues that surrounds their lungs. So which when you have a lot of fat tissues in your muscles, so your physiology of the lungs is not as is normal. It's not normal compared to the people with the BMI which is within the normal range.
All right. Thank you for that. The third question is for Mr. Cairo Hafiz. He asked either do we have what are the control measures that can be implemented to prevent the health impact of PM2.5 to construction workers? So any implementation?
Right. So we can see a lot of options actually in the construction site, a lot of options. We can also think about the green solution, okay, which is to protect the environment as well as you protect the human. Okay, so in green solution, we talk about materials that are from recycled materials, which are used to construct the or erect the walls of a building. Okay, they don't go for cement or concrete. They go for recycled materials, which can be used to fabricated materials to construct the walls of the buildings. So in that case, you reduce the exposure to dust actually, especially PM2.5 dust. Okay. Another thing is in any construction site, the housekeeping is very, very important. Okay, so many of the construction sites that we have visited, there is very poor housekeeping. Okay, the bag of cement which is open is left open. Okay, so if you're not using the cement powder is carried away by the wind. Okay, and you also must have effective communication between the management and the workers, the supervisor and the workers. Because the workers, naturally, they are not so educated, and their awareness in terms of health and safety is very, very low. Okay, they are coming there to work and to just earn money. That is what is in their thoughts. So the supervisor or the people at the management level, we have the awareness, we have the knowledge, we have to communicate with them and tell them what they are doing, which way they should be doing it, so that they can protect themselves. Okay, so in construction sites, using of mask is very, very encouraged. Using of mask is very, very encouraged, especially fabric mask. Fabric mask where you can wash and you can reuse again, especially to prevent the inhalation of mineral dust. Dalam construction site, you have a lot of mineral dust. Okay, regular safety tour. Okay, the supervisor or the person in charge must make regular visits or safety tour. That is going to ensure, okay, if the management has provided the personal protection equipment, PPE has been provided. Okay, if you do not regularly make a safety tour, so you will find that many of these workers are negligent. Okay, they might not be wearing the personal protection equipment that is given to them. Okay, and spray equipment must be installed. Okay, spray equipment must be installed. That is very, very important. Okay, to clump the PM2.5 until they form the flock, which is bigger in size and heavier in weight, and they will drop to the ground. Okay, so another responsibilities of the management is to provide medical examination for the construction workers. Okay, they are your workers, they are your asset, so please take care of them. Okay, so at least once a year you can send them for the PEFR, you can do the chest x-ray for them. Okay, so it's not just about for the developers, it's not just about making tons of money. Okay, it's also to consider the health of your workers. Okay, and training can be provided. Training can be provided for these workers. Okay, instead of it does not be a one full day of training, but it can just be a 1 hour or 2 hours of training, which sometimes we call as toolbox meeting. Okay, toolbox meeting, where the supervisor meets the workers and he shares his knowledge, his experience for the workers to inculcate in their daily working routine. I think that is a few suggestions that can be used by the contractors to protect the workers at the construction site.
All right. Next question we from Mr. Tavin Kumar. He wants to know more about the lung function test. He asking about was a baseline measurement done followed by a subsequent measurement or only a one-off measurement?
Okay, if these medical examinations is a is routine, okay, is a routine medical examination which is carried out every year, then you will have a baseline data. Okay, so in our study, when we entered the construction site, there were no medical examinations. Prior medical examinations were never done before, so we did not have a baseline data. But in any working environment, it is good to have a baseline data which you can fall upon, or you can make a comparison whether your lung performance is improving or it is becoming worse. So it is important to have a baseline data. But the thing is, it is not mandatory to perform the medical examination in a construction site. So far, under the Factory and Machinery Act, okay, we have a regulation called the Mineral Dust Regulation, 1989, Mineral Dust Regulation 1989. In that regulation, it is mandatory for the management to conduct a medical examination for the worker. But for the construction site, nothing is mentioned. Okay, so what the Factory and Machinery Act on the Mineral Dust Regulation ini, dia control the workplace such as quarry or cement producing factory. There is that kind of places is mandatory. But Construction site is where you are just using the cement, okay, you're using the sand, you're using the gravel. So there is no at present there is no particular law that makes it what do you call compulsory for the medical examination to be done.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Amir, for the wonderful webinar. So with that, we conclude today's session. To our dear speaker, Mr. Amir, thank you again for joining us, and especially thank you for sharing the knowledge on PM2.5 and the health effect of it. To our keen and attentive viewer, thank you for joining our webinar. We look forward to your comment and participation in our future event hosted by MAHSA University. For further queries, please contact us through the MAHSA website or visit our social media. Have a pleasant day. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam. Thank you. Bye.